Welcome to the May 13th Planning Commission meeting. Roll call, Emma. Here. Johnson.
Here.
I'm here. Fox.
Here.
Homa.
Here.
Everyone's here. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Johnson, second by Emma to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get the approval of the minutes from April 8th?
Before you guys approve the minutes, I just want to make one change from on page 2 under item B. It says a lot size of 44,000. It should say, I think I misspoke, it should be 4,400 or 4,466.
You see this?
Talk about the square foot?
Under B?
Yep. That's a huge lot, so not a lot that big.
See it again?
So it's under the variance request, item B for Ed Reimer. It says, hoping to split off and sell a 44,000 square foot lot. It's actually
4,400.
With that correction, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from
Move to accept the minutes.
Second.
moved by Fox, second by Novak to approve the minutes of April 8th. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no public input tonight, so we're going to just move on from there. Got a number of public hearings tonight. The first one is variance for a Dollar General store. Zach, you want to give us the background of that before we open up the public meeting? Or the
Yeah.
public hearing, I'm sorry.
For sure, yeah. Good evening, Planning Commission. Dollar General and their civil engineering team, Hurley and Stewart, are zooming in tonight to answer any questions you may have regarding their proposed variance and conditional use permit application. Their store would sit on the corner of Dakota and 5th Street. So starting with the variance in order to build their proposed store, the applicant is requesting 3 different variances: a 13-foot front setback variance, a 7-foot drive aisle setback variance, and an 18-space reduction to the parking requirement. So in your packet, you'll see the proposed store, as well as a survey and a site summary for your review. So with that, please share any thoughts you might have after the public hearing with city staff or the Dollar General team.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to open up the public hearing for the variance part of the request only. Are there anybody wishes to speak on the variance? Second call, anybody wishing to speak on the variance? Are they both? Okay. Third and last call, anybody wishing to speak on the variance? I'm going to close that public hearing. Should we discuss that part now or just go on to the next public hearing? I want to discuss that part now. So, maybe we can discuss this and ask questions to the gentleman on Zoom.
First question is, being this piece of land is kind of surrounded by a railroad track, which I'm sure is not complaining about anything, and businesses, with the exception of the True North Church, do they have any objections to this? Have they been talked to?
Everybody just via code who's in a 350-foot radius gets something in the mail. So that was sent out to all the parties. I don't think I got any complaints, and I don't think anybody's here objected. So It's also published in the paper. So I guess if anybody is super against it, hope they'd be here, but I haven't heard.
I got a question, follow up on that. So is that kind of standard operating for the city, just 350-foot radius?
That's what our city code states.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what's the general consensus on setbacks?
I guess I drove by the property today and I noticed that the railroad is driving along that property within their easement. I don't know if that helps or hurts anybody's points, but I did just drive by it and they're using it. So.
Is there any concern with the closeness of the tracks to the actual building?
I guess I have one question, just looking at the way that the truck is depicted here. Is it only a one-way in, one-way out sort of deal for that truck, or is it, you know, to me it looks like you're coming in from Dakota Street. Sorry, it looks, how did I interpret that? It looks like you come in along Dakota Street, go on to 4th Street North, and then come in, trucks would park there and unload there, and then they'd come out, spit themselves back out into Dakota Street, and then go along 5th Street North. Is this turning plan work both ways, I guess, or is it just one way in, one way out for those trucks?
Perhaps maybe we can have our general team and Hurley and Stewart maybe add on a little bit of context.
Will they respond? Or maybe they're muted? They are muted.
Can one of you guys up on the Zoom meeting answer the question? You're both on mute.
How do we know if they're there?
Well, that's a good question.
Does anybody have the ability to type to them to see if they're there? They respond via chat.
To make sure that they can get through. Is it, I mean, I look at like a grocery store where there's pretty much one way in and one way out down there.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think one thing that kind of it looks like someone just unmuted. But it looks like to me one of the parts of our variances for that residential area is you can't really impede traffic. I mean, to the point there's something in there and it's brought up later. But to me, it seems like that's a good way to back up traffic, is to have that semi come in one way and only be one way out, I guess. Especially along 5th Street, I mean, that'd be the main concern.
Of course, they could always go north on 4th Street and come out on 17th, which is even worse traffic.
Right.
Or there's one other way you can cut over and go around, but. So I look at that little piece of property, and although it's residential business, correct, yeah. That area is pretty much more orientated towards business, and I can't ever see someone like building a home there. It would be nice if we could put in a sidewalk or a path in front while we're doing this.
So is it, how do you pronounce his name? Oh, Travis. Travis, what is the let's say, how many trucks do you expect to run in and out of there? Let's just start. Is it 1 a day, 2 a day, 5 a week? What do you project there?
Sorry, you're a little hard to hear. You say how many trucks?
Yes, how many trucks, in an average store this size?
Yep. So usually it's one large truck, so a WB67, which would be a full-size semi. Usually it's one per week, and then throughout the week there will be multiple smaller deliveries, such as a van, small box truck, things like that.
Okay. So generally, one large, like a semi per week, and then smaller ones filling in between those.
Correct, that's correct. Yep. And usually the large trucks are either early in the day or late in the day, when traffic is, flow into this site is pretty low.
Do you expect, excuse me, do you expect that the truck would pull in and go to 4th Street and then drive in to the unloading pad there?
That's correct.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were figuring that the truck would be not sticking out into the 4th Street area.
Right, that's correct. Yep, so the intention is that the truck would come in off of 4th Street into the site, park along the north side of the building, unload, and then exit out onto Dakota.
And Neil, question, are those streets made to handle that weight?
Correct.
I wasn't able to catch that. There's a lot of loud echo. Apologize.
Commissioner Johnson was wondering if them streets had enough tonnage to hold the semis.
If the streets have what? Again, I apologize.
If they're heavy enough to hold the weight of the semis.
Dakota Street?
And I answered correct.
I'm not sure of the makeup of Dakota and 4th Street as far as the constructability of it, how that was constructed. I assume so.
I guess I have a question for the council, or for the planning commission here. Do we have any sort of history allowing this type of variance, especially with the number of parking spots? I know we were talking about setbacks, but like the decrease in parking spots, do we have any sort of precedence then?
Yeah, this is a variance we apply for quite often. What we find in many cases is that the parking requirements are rather excessive for what Dollar General requires. So Dollar General has over 17,000 stores nationwide. And for this size store, depending on the market, they require anywhere from 30 to 35 parking spaces at most. So this is right in the wheelhouse for the size store for how many parking spaces they require based on their market research and over 17,000 stores in production.
I guess just out of curiosity, what's your guys' plans for something like snow storage? Is that something, would that reduce the parking in the winter? Or do you have snow storage in your green area?
This is Kirk, the developer. I believe they usually push those to the edges of the parking area to any adjacent landscape areas as we find space.
But to the commission, I guess, do we have any sort of precedent set with like allowing this a decrease in our city code, I guess?
I don't know.
The Cannonball Apartments got a reduction in the number of required parking. That's the only one I remember recently. I think that's the only one, plus recently.
That's residential.
It's still a variance for parking.
It's different between residential and business.
be nice to think that maybe they need more parking, but
Zach, the buildings, the setback along Dakota Street, confused on that. 25 foot required, 12 foot.
Right, yeah, that's just the front setback, so 25 in an RB, which is where this building would fall. And they're simply just, the proposed building would sit too close to the front setback, so that's what that variance is there for.
So the drive that comes out on Dakota Street, is there the distance between the intersection and that driveway, is there a code for that? Yes.
Did you guys want to answer that? You contacted the state about the driveway entrance so close to the state highway.
Yes, so I have reached out to the DOT about that. They took a couple of weeks collectively as a group to review this. And basically their stance was the drive is outside of their right-of-way, so they don't have jurisdiction and really don't have a say. So they said it's really up to the city to make a determination on access, but since it's outside of their right-of-way, they really didn't have much of an input on it. And there's nothing they can do as far as permitting. It's out of their jurisdiction.
That means it's your jurisdiction, Zach. Do you know if there's anything in there?
Like a curb cut, a certain distance away from the intersection, is that
Yeah.
kind of what you're looking for?
You know, because what it looks like for me is that delivery truck is going to come out on the 20 to turn, and he's still going to be coming out of that driveway, and he might be using up quite a bit of Dakota Street. I'm sure Kyle will. Big long truck, they take up a lot of room. He's sitting at a stop sign. He's still trying to get around that corner of the driveway. It's going to take up a lot of that street. I just wondered what that distance is.
You're asking what the distance is from the intersection to our driveway?
Yes.
Just a second. Or just a second. It's about 90 feet.
Say, did you guys look at all working with the state or the DOT trying to get an entrance off of Fifth Street? Or was this your first option?
This was really our first option, but we did have some preliminary conversations with the state about getting access to Fifth. And they were not really in favor of that. They prefer us to come off of a side street versus their road.
Any other questions?
Just what, did we look at any other possible locations in town, or this was the preferred?
This is the preferred. They came
I
to
think
us.
Kurt could probably answer that better than me. Kurt, do you know if this was the only site that you guys looked at from a development standpoint?
In this area, I think it was probably the second, but I can go back and look where we talked about it. Yeah, I believe it's the second. We looked at something southwest of here, but it was a little bit of a jumble of existing accesses and required assembling multiple parcels as well.
I need to.
I think I need more information on that driveway. How close that, you gotta go out there and look at it more closely or something. I just think that's way too close to that
It's
intersection.
not a blind intersection, you would see that intersection quite a ways, either north or south. It's not like you would just come upon it, nor is it.
I'm not talking about that part. I'm talking about when they're coming out of that driveway.
He's talking about the truck coming here and making the turn.
Yeah, but it's not like they won't be able to see for themselves. It's not like it's gonna pop up the road.
I mean, essentially, to me, it looks like you're making a giant U-turn. I mean, if you look at this diagram, what you see is what you get. That truck is taking up all of Dakota Street, making that maneuver. And it will be, if I'm interpreting this correctly. Same with turning into it. Just one of those things you have to deal with. I mean,
Well, I see it all day long.
yep, it happens downtown at the stoplight. It's an issue for 1 minute, you know.
Yeah, it's not an issue that's backed up
But it-
traffic or caused accidents, and it's, I can sit on my porch and see this kind of stuff going on all day long. So I don't think it's a major.
Yeah, and we're talking about one semi a week.
Yeah.
If you had a business that was proposing, semi after semi coming in 2-3 times every day of the week,
We might have to ask.
but I mean, you got other truck traffic down that road, going down to the Gray Company. And speaking as one on the north side, it'd be kind of nice to have something on our side, besides the stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt. That's what I was going to say as well. There is other uses, that are using trucks on the corridor to the east, and once the truck driver gets comfortable with the route, that's the safest and works the best for him. That's the route he's going to use. What we're showing is a diagram of what we intend to be the route and what we anticipate to be.
Jesse, about the setbacks?
No, I understand that there's a 15-foot requirement on the side, and the fact that we've got, outside of the property line, it looks like you got another, I don't know how many feet to the actual road. That doesn't bother me. I agree with that whenever that truck shows up, that it might be slightly inconvenient to pull out of there. But that's the truck driver's problem, not mine. And then as far as that back setback, with it, you know, I'd feel more inclined to say something about it if it wasn't next to a railroad. You know, if there was a house there, or if there was something that, you know, if it was somebody's backyard, I'd have a problem with it, but I don't.
Parking spaces?
Based on what I know of this town, I don't think this is going to be an issue with crowding. So,
And another thing to add to the parking, sorry to interrupt, is that the clientele that are shopping here, you know, it's a quick turnover typically. It's not like, you know, people are in there shopping for hours on end. It's get in and get a, you know, gallon of milk or a loaf of bread or something quickly, and then they're back out. So, you know, there's usually not a large accumulation of parking at one time.
Yeah, that's correct. We average about 15 to 20 transactions per hour, and the traffic is typically spread throughout the day. If there aren't peak hours, you know, if you were like a fast food or something like that.
I think it would be nice to see productive use of that property.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I'm ready to move that we recommend to the city council to grant the variances. I don't know what the number is.
That's all.
Yes.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
second.
Jesse. Motion by Johnson, second by Fox to go ahead with the variances for Dollar General. Any further discussion? One note, I have a conflict of interest, so I'm going to abstain from the votes. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I abstain. Okay. So, next public hearing is a conditional use permit for Dollar General. Zach?
Yes, sir. Yep. The Dollar General will also need a conditional use permit in order to operate retail in the RV zone. Please see City Code 152608K in your packet, where it states that retail is allowed via a conditional use permit, provided that, and then it lists 5 different criteria, or requirements that must be met. Merchandise is sold at retail. Off-street parking is met, which we discussed. Vehicular entrances create a minimum to traffic, which was also discussed. The site is properly screened if abutting a residential zone property, which it does not, and then all signs conform to city code.
So with that, I'm going to open up the public hearing for a conditional use permit for Dollar General. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the conditional use permit for Dollar General? Second call?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, we'd just like to, you know, request that, you know, you consider the conditional use approval. It makes sense, at least in our perspective, that, you know, it's a good use for the location, clean up the site, improve the site actually, provide a nice convenient opportunity for residences in the vicinity.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the conditional use permit? Third and last call, anyone wishing to speak on a conditional use permit? Okay, I'm closing the public hearing. Committee.
I'm assuming if we granted the other, this would be a no-brainer.
Well, I guess they approve the setbacks and all the other conditional uses are met. I guess there isn't a whole lot. Just have to meet all the conditional uses. 152-608, correct, Zach?
That is correct, yep.
Any other questions? Jesse, Chris? Bruce? Questions?
Then I move that we recommend to council to approve the conditional use permit for Dollar General.
I'll second that.
Moved by Johnson, seconded by Helmut to approve the conditional use permit application for Dollar General. Is there any further discussion? Again, with this, I have a conflict of interest, so I'm not being with that said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Great night.
Okay, the next public hearing is for a variance on 620 Grove Street North. Zach?
Yeah, so the house located at 620 Grove Street North experienced a fire a couple months ago, I believe, and it burned down completely. So in order to build a new home on their lot, the property owners and builder are requesting two variances. The first being a 29.91 front yard variance, and the second is a 1.59 rear yard variance. This lot, quite frankly, is one of the smaller lots in the city, and it's positioned in a manner in which the front of the home would normally be the side of the home on most city lots. So a variance is needed to build a house that meets 30-foot front and 30-foot rear setbacks, since the lot is only 60 feet wide.
So you got any, you gotta have public hearing first. So I'm gonna open the public hearing for variances for a home on 620 Grove Street North. Does anybody wishing to speak to that variance? Second call, anybody wishing to speak on that variance? Third and last call, anybody wishing to speak on the variance for 620 Grove Street North? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Committee. So you haven't heard anything from the neighbors? Mr. Mr. Talby's right next door, correct?
Correct.
You got Alex was here a month ago, right?
Right, yep.
He's on the other side.
He's on the other side, exactly, yeah. Nothing related to the actual planning and zoning aspect that we're discussing tonight, so.
I guess the only question that I have, I don't really have a problem with it the way it's proposed. I'm just curious about the alley that's platted, I guess. I don't think it'll ever go in, but the off chance that city says we want it to go in, what happens? What goes on there? Because it's overlapping with the guy's garage, so.
Oh, because he's,
He'd be building on that proposed, or like I said, platted alley, I guess, but I guess we can't do much. Go ahead.
I think he owns part of that alley. I'm not sure, I guess, the history behind it, but I guess the house won't sit on the property line, but you're right, the actual property kind of eats into that alley. I'm not sure, Neil, if you wanted to maybe say what would happen in the future.
The way it looks is that portion of that alley was vacated sometime in the past.
okay, so even if they wanted to open it back up, it was already vacated, so it's going to be.
Well, there's a thin strip there, but I don't think there's room to get through there anymore.
Yeah, I looked at it on Google Earth. It didn't really make sense for it to ever be there, at this point in development. But just a point I wanted to make. But I don't have any issue with the proposed deal here.
Anybody else?
Are they just proposing to essentially rebuild their existing, is that the?
That's pretty much exactly, almost exactly how the house already sat before.
Okay.
So they can't move it any further down the street.
The builder had expressed to me that that northern part of the lot was some building issues there, so it was that it would be built more southerly.
It looks nice and flat on the map. It's not flat.
They got elevations on that survey. If you look at it, the house sits at 837, and it drops off to 833 at the end of the lot. So it's
Any other questions? I'm going to make a motion to approve that variance for 620 Grove Street North.
A second.
By Chris?
Yep.
Moved by Gesme, second by Nobak to approve the variance for 620 Grove Street North. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, one more public hearing. Vacation application for William Marsh. Zach.
Yeah, so the property owner doesn't have an address, but PID 521-400-440 is hoping to build a new home on his current lot. The home he's requesting to build would sit on his property line, so the application before you tonight is requesting a vacation of city right-of-way in order to construct a home that meets all the requirements in the R3 zone. I think to better understand it, maybe look at Exhibit 3 in your packet, because that will illustrate what is actually proposed to be vacated. It's going to be that rectangle directly east of his lot. The southern triangle outlined in blue is actually a city-owned parcel. And the northern triangle outlined in red is part of Lot 1, Block 53 of the originally platted city. So if you approve the vacation tonight, it is contingent upon the property owner on submitting a building permit, paying the appropriate building permit fees and new home fees, as well as providing the city with a survey with a home and dimensions, setback dimensions off the house. So please share your thoughts with discussion item D.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing for the vacation application for Linda Marsh.
Check. Okay. Hey, Steve, I'm Kyle Rapp, 615 North Oak Street, just above the bike trail. So everything that's happening with this is everything's north of the bike trail, correct? Okay. The Stoughton Street comes through on my north side of my property. It's vacated there.
Oh, okay.
So this would be where Oak Street would continue down through that Stoughton that comes through. So everything's below the bike trail, correct?
So
Nothing above.
come here and point where you are.
What's that?
Come up here and point where you are. Okay, so this is stuff, this is, are you, is this you right here?
This is the bike trail. This is my
Yeah.
So this is Oak Street. Yep. Everything's below that. This is a 12-foot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to check, because all
Yeah.
I got was a letter in the mail,
Okay.
because of probably the 350 feet. So I didn't know what it was, if it was some of the properties behind, to the east of me, or, so I just want to come, Barry.
Better to ask now.
Yeah, I'm monkey dory with it.
All right,
All right,
thanks,
thanks,
Kyle.
guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Second call, anyone wishing to speak on the vacation request? Third and last call, anybody wishing to speak on the vacation request? With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Committee,
I guess I have a few questions. So first off, just the black rectangle there that's blank and has no text on it, is that just property that nobody owns, that it's within city limits, or? I guess what I'm getting at is how come he has to purchase the blue triangle, but the black rectangle has to be vacated and not purchased?
It is pretty confusing. That southern blue triangle is actually, it's city property, but it's actually a parcel.
Yep.
So what he's vacating, the city owns it, but it's not anything, right?
Okay.
So it's
Yep.
right of way, exactly. And that
And then
northern,
yeah, go ahead. I was going to say that the red triangle, it sounds like that was platted at one point.
was platted at one point, just that it's a tiny bit, you can kind of see, it's hard to see where it would have, the right of way would have, street would have gone, the originally platted street, so it kind of cuts off that northern triangle a little bit. And so what Mr. Marsh is vacating is the rectangle. Once he comes into the city, he has a survey with a home on it. Let's say, oh, he doesn't meet those rear setbacks. Well, he could purchase that blue triangle portion from the city, or if he needed to, we could do a deed and get that north triangle. But honestly, it looks like he would meet the setbacks anyway without any of that, just the vacation. So
And would this be a shared driveway entrance here that I'm seeing, or would there be a different entrance?
looks like it's a little bit of it. He has his shared, right, but he kind of has his own little.
Yeah. And then I guess my final question would be, it sounds like it's proposed as an all or nothing. Like, he has to build the house to get the property, correct?
That is correct. Just so he can't go around, turn around and sell it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's written in the resolution there. Yeah, that it's contingent upon.
okay, so the question I have, who is the property owner of record for the black?
We talked to Mr. Rapp about that, and I don't know if we could find out. We'd have to do a quiet title search. we're not gonna do it. I don't know if Mr. Marsh is gonna do it, but it's part of, I think it's part of right-of-way, but it's still a lot. Does that make sense?
Well, somebody is
If I was to say nobody's paid taxes on it, it's probably the state of Minnesota.
oh,
I don't know, but I know if I owned that little triangle, I wouldn't pay taxes on it, and the state would own it.
no, I'm not talking about the triangle, I'm talking about the big rectangle.
Oh, the big rectangle, that's original plat, City of Cannon Falls,
Okay, I know that.
okay?
Who's the owner of record of it? Yes.
The one that has the red line going through on the top, that belongs to the city or to?
We're gonna vacate that black rectangle.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
North of the red line is the originally platted.
The rectangle is city right-of-way.
Okay. But we're giving it to Mr. Marsh. Just
Vacated.
But he would have to buy it. No.
You can't sell right-of-way.
But
So
you
we
can't,
just-
but you can sell the little triangle that's,
Correct, because that is a lot.
Well, is somebody coming here tomorrow and saying, Neil, I want that. I don't want him to have it. I want that.
Vacations have to go to abutting properties. Now, if you vacate an alley, it goes right down the middle.
I understand that.
Yeah.
This doesn't look to me that type of. Who's the person on the other side of it?
There isn't anybody. It's right away. That's Oak Street coming down.
Okay.
It's confusing. I'm glad we had Mr. Rapp here the other day to discuss the little triangles of original plat versus the new right-of-way of Stoughton,
Yeah.
where they replat or redid the right-of-way, versus the old right-of-way of Stoughton is actually part of Mr. Marsh's lot and the Carlson lot right next door. If you would extend that straight, that's all been vacated and houses built on it at one time or another.
Zach, I noticed in the proposed language that there was some wording about flooding. It was a little confusing to me. So is the proposed, well, I guess we're probably not even there yet, but are they out of the flood zone or are they still in the flood zone? How's that work?
Yeah, just there's about 16 feet of property, which honestly almost all the houses on Stoughton Street are in the floodplain, but actually not the houses, the lots. But that just means he can't build anything. But the setbacks in that zone are 25 feet anyway, so it really shouldn't be a problem. He also has to be, because of floodplain, 50 feet off the curb. Well, he doesn't own up to the curb, and the setbacks off his property line are 25 feet anyway. So all that should not really matter. I mean, if his whole lot was in the floodplain, that'd be a different story. But it's just a little bit, and that's the setbacks anyway. So I just wanted to make you aware. Just
Yeah,
so
thank you.
Yep.
I mean, I think my personal opinion is I think it's a good idea. I think if the language is proposed as such where he can't just take this right away and sell it without building a house on it,
Yeah.
another house at Cannon Falls is good to me, so.
Is that
Yeah, motion to approve.
second.
moved by Nobach, second by Fox to approve the vacation application with the stipulations as set. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Anything else from the committee? Well, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Gesney, second by Fox to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you, everyone.